Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi. Anda bersama saya Nabilah Khaleeda dan ini Niaga AWANI. Seperti biasa pada jam ini kita akan berikan laporan berita, bisnes kewangan dan juga ekonomi dalam negara dan juga termasuklah luar negara. Jadi kita mulakan dengan perkembangan dan juga perkembangan data dan di mana pada waktu ini saya akan kongsikan statistik data perdagangan ekspor dan juga import untuk setakat Mac 2025. Kalau kita boleh tunjukkan di sini, kalau di mana setakat hari ini adalah sebentar ya. Baik. Ini adalah data berkenaan dengan data perdagangan ekspor dan juga import di Malaysia untuk bulan Mac 2025. Untuk pengetahuan semua, ini adalah data sebelum pengenalan tarif timbal balik oleh Presiden Amerika Syarikat Donald Trump yang mana dikenalkan pada 2 April 2025. Dan ini adalah sebelumnya. Jom kita saksikan di mana prestasi ekspor dan juga import, dan semua perubahan ini adalah berdasarkan perbandingan tahun ke tahun. 2025 kita bandingkan dengan tahun sebelumnya 2024. Kita mulakan di mana Malaysia mencatatkan jumlah perdagangan bernilai RM249.9 bilion pada Mac 2025 dengan ekspor dan import masing-masing bernilai RM137.3 bilion dan RM112.6 bilion, dan ekspor bernilai RM137.3 bilion pada Mac 2025 meningkat sebanyak RM8.7 bilion berbanding bulan yang sama tahun sebelumnya. Dan peningkatan ekspor dipengaruhi oleh ekspor yang lebih tinggi di 4 negeri iaitu Pulau Pinang dan diikuti dengan Selangor, Melaka dan juga Kelantan. Dan walaupun nilai ekspor menurun di negeri-negeri lain seperti Johor, kalau kita lihat di sini, di Negeri Sembilan, Perlis, Pahang, Terengganu, Sarawak, wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur dan juga wilayah Persekutuan Labuan. Jadi di atas ini adalah ekspor. Nombor di atas ni adalah ekspor dan di bawah adalah import, dan ini adalah kalau kita saksikan nilai ekspor dan juga import itu. Namun kalau kita nak tunjuk juga sebaliknya, import pada bulan Mac 2025 menurun RM3.3 bilion berbanding bulan yang sama pada tahun lalu 2024, dan penurunan import disebabkan oleh import yang lebih rendah di kebanyakan negeri selain yang disebutkan tadi seperti Johor, Kelantan, Melaka, Negeri Sembilan, Perlis, Pahang, Terengganu, Sabah, Sarawak dan juga wilayah Persekutuan Labuan dan Selangor mendominasi import. Malaysia dengan sumbangan 24.5%, diikuti oleh Pulau Pinang 24.4%, Johor 23.4%, wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur 8.8% dan juga Kedah 4.9%. Dan ini adalah 5 negeri yang menguasai ekspor negara dengan menyumbang 85.2%. Dan sudah tentu di tempat pertama Pulau Pinang kekal sebagai pengeksport utama dengan sumbangan diikuti oleh Selangor, Johor, Sarawak dan juga wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur. Dan ini adalah sedikit sebanyak negeri yang prestasi dan juga statistik negeri-negeri dari segi ekspor dan import untuk bulan Mac 2025. Jadi untuk kita berbincang lanjut, kita akan bersama dengan Profesor Emeritus Dr. Barjory Badai, Provost Malaysia University of Science Technology MAS. Assalamualaikum Prof. Mungkin pertama sekali kalau kita lihat data-data tadi, bagaimana prestasi dagangan Malaysia pada bulan Mac ini melihat dalam konteks tarif yang dilaksanakan ketika ini, Prof?
Ya, terima kasih Cik Nabilah. Saya nak mula dengan berkongsi angka yang lebih luas untuk suku tahun pertama 2025. Sebenarnya prestasi perdagangan Malaysia adalah sangat cemerlang. Paling cemerlang dalam tempoh lebih daripada 50 bulan sejak tahun 2020. Kalau kita tengok jumlah perdagangan untuk suku tahun pertama 715 bilion, meningkat 3.6%, dan ini kerana ekspor meningkat 4.4% menjadi 378 bilion, dan import meningkat juga 2.8% menjadi 337 bilion. Dan ini mewujudkan lebihan perdagangan melebihi 41 bilion, 20% peningkatan. Dan tentunya angka ini mungkin agak mengelirukan, sebab kalau kita tengok pada bulan Mac sudah ada tanda-tanda kelemahan sedikit di dalam perdagangan angka perdagangan, tapi di bulan Januari dan Februari angkanya memang sangat hebat. Malaysia menunjukkan peningkatan misalnya di dalam ekspor terus-menerus untuk 59 bulan sejak 2020, dan ini dipacu oleh kenaikan daripada permintaan kepada barang elektrikal dan elektronik, dan juga oleh minyak sawit kita. Walaupun permintaan ataupun perdagangan untuk minyak dan gas misalnya agak melemah, tetapi penurunannya tidak begitu ketara. Okey, balik kepada bulan Mac. Pada bulan Mac kita melihat bahawa import menurun. Sebenarnya kepada pengurus ekonomi, penurunan import adalah satu petanda baik, kerana kalau import menurun, ini bermakna kita dapat menjimatkan pertukaran asing, kita mungkin mengurangkan pergantungan pada import dan sebagainya. Tapi di Malaysia ni penurunan import adalah disebabkan penurunan kepada permintaan barang-barang modal. Maksudnya laburan baru agak merosot, walaupun sebenarnya permintaan kepada barang-barang pengguna meningkat. Okey, kalau kita tengok dari segi pengeluaran meningkat di 4 negeri ekspornya. Yang pentingnya macam Cik Nabilah sebut, Pulau Pinang dan Selangor. Dan kebanyakan peningkatan ini adalah dipacu oleh sektor perkilangan, khususnya dalam aspek elektronik dan elektrikal. Dan ini merupakan satu yang kita boleh kaji semula, adakah dia akan terus meningkat, dan kerana permintaan utama ataupun destinasi utama peningkatan ekspor ini ialah ke US, peningkatan 50% ekspor elektronik dan elektrikal ke US misalnya.
Prof, kalau seperti yang Prof katakan tadi, ekspor meningkat dan juga import menurun dan terma perdagangan itu sendiri meningkat 1.2%. Jadi dengan peningkatan peratusan ini, bagaimana ia ataupun sejauh mana yang mencerminkan kekuatan sebenar sektor ekspor kita, atau adakah ia hanya cerminan sementara daripada harga komoditi global yang tinggi pada ketika ini, dan jika ia, sektor mana yang paling berisiko mengalami kejatuhan?
Kalau kita kaji dari pergi sektor, kita lihat misalnya peningkatan ekspor ialah daripada sektor elektronik dan elektrikal, dan dari segi minyak sawit. Dua sektor ini saya lihat akan terus meningkat kerana banyak negara di dunia, kita tengok ada 12 negara di dunia yang sangat bergantung kepada ekspor kita dalam kedua-dua komponen ini. Tetapi mana kita juga melihat bahawa sektor perlumbungan dan minyak menjadi semakin lemah. Ini kita memang jangkakan kerana harga minyak mentah dunia telah menurun, dan mungkin ini akan terus menurun. Kalau kita tengok yang lain pula, dari segi pertumbuhan ekonomi keseluruhan, kita kaitkan dengan pertumbuhan ekonomi Malaysia. Di suku tahun pertama dijangkakan kita akan mencapai 4.4% pertumbuhan. Ini mungkin kurang sedikit daripada 5% di suku tahun sebelumnya. Dan ini dipacu banyak oleh sektor pembangunan ataupun construction yang meningkat lebih daripada 20%. Jadi kita sebenarnya hari ini di dalam situasi di mana kita ada sumber untuk pertumbuhan dalaman yang kokoh, dan di masa yang sama kita mengharapkan permintaan kepada elektronik dan elektrikal dan juga minyak mentah terus meningkat. Kalau kedua-dua ni berlaku, kita sebenarnya dapat mengelak daripada kesan perang tarif di antara China dengan US ini.
Prof, delegasi Malaysia dan juga MITI telah pun ke Washington untuk berunding dan menjelang sidang khas Parlimen 5 Mei ataupun minggu depan, apa jangkaan Prof dari segi penjelasan kerajaan membincangkan kebimbangan mengenai tarif Trump dan bagaimana ini harus kita lihat sebagai usaha kolektif pelbagai pihak, tidak kira kerajaan mahu membangkang mendepani ketidaktentuan global ini?
Walaupun yang berhormat Tengku Zafrul telah melakukan beberapa perbincangan dan menyatakan banyak aspek positif, tetapi kita tidak tahu butirnya. Jadi kita boleh menganggap bahawa secara umum kesannya akan menjadi positif, tetapi saya rasa US masih belum memberikan komitmen bahawa mereka misalnya akan mengecualikan Malaysia daripada tarif ini ataupun tidak. Tetapi yang jelas kadar tarif untuk semiconductor, elektronik dan elektrikal dan juga untuk rubber glove memang dikecualikan, dan ini akan menjamin bahawa sektor itu akan terus maju. Dan yang kita takuti ialah sebenarnya lebih kepada import barang-barang keperluan asas, kerana kita Malaysia mengimport lebih 80 bilion setiap tahun, dan ada sejumlah besar juga import adalah daripada US. Dan kalau tarif dinaikkan dan ada juga kesan sampingan daripada kadar pertukaran yang akan menjadikan kadar pertukaran USD mungkin menjadi lebih kokoh jika tarif dilaksanakan, yang boleh menjejaskan harga import yang kita akan bayar. Jadi secara keseluruhannya kita tidak menjangkakan kesan yang negatif ke atas industri semiconductor, sektor elektronik dan elektrikal, dan juga sektor minyak sawit, tetapi kita perlu menjangkakan kemungkinan kenaikan harga, kenaikan kos apabila kita mengimport.
Baik, itu adalah sikit perkongsian berkenaan dengan harga barang kita pada masa akan datang. Jadi terima kasih diucapkan kepada Profesor Emeritus Dr. Barjaya Bardai, Provost Malaysia University of Science and Technology MAS, dan segala perbincangan ini akan kami rangkumkan dalam semua platform digital Astro AWANI dan juga astrowani.com, dan kita teruskan dengan perkembangan jiwa SME. Dengan penggunaan tenaga negara dijangka akan terus meningkat secara konsisten dalam tempoh sedekad akan datang, Petronas Lubricants International PLI dan pengeluar minyak pelincir tempatan Glide Teknologi Senayan Berhad Glide telah memeterai satu perjanjian kerjasama. Menerusi perjanjian ini, kedua-dua syarikat pengeluar pelincir akan bekerjasama dalam pengedaran minyak penebat premium di bawah jenama Petronas Trenol Glide. Minyak penebat memainkan peranan penting dalam operasi transformer yang merupakan teras utama pencawang elektrik. Produk Petronas Trenol Glide Unhinhibited dan Inhibited diformulasikan khas untuk memenuhi piawaian antarabangsa dan tuntutan operasi mencabar.
Memorandum perjanjian kerjasama dengan rakan niaga kami Glide Technology ini untuk mengeluarkan, mengedarkan produk untuk syarikat utility dan pengeluar transformer untuk seluruh Malaysia. Kami rasa sangat bangga dengan perjanjian ini dan we look forward to good things dalam masa hadapan.
Rangkaian Petronas Trenol Glide dihasilkan untuk mengekalkan dan meningkatkan prestasi sistem tenaga bagi menyokong pertumbuhan ini. Glide, pengeluar minyak pelincir tempatan dengan fasiliti yang terletak di Shah Alam, Selangor, adalah pembekal kepada syarikat utility dan pengeluar transformer. Menerusi kerjasama dengan PLI, Glide akan mengeluarkan Petronas Trenol Glide di fasilitinya untuk pengedaran dalam negara. Presiden Kumpulan Syarikat Glide, Dato' Muhazli Muhammad berkata, syarikat itu berbangga kerana mampu menyumbang kepakaran yang dimiliki syarikat.
Hari ini satu sejarah untuk syarikat kami, Gelait Teknologi Senar Berhad, yang mana kita menandatangani perjanjian kita panggil perjanjian bersama dengan Petronas Lubricant International, yang mana kita untuk memasarkan produk insulating oil. Yang mana sekarang ni kita nampak yang mana kalau kita syarikat Bumi Putra SME macam kami, untuk pergi jauh kita perlu collaboration. Yang mana kita tahu Petronas yang mana terkenal di seluruh dunia dengan jenama mereka. Jadi kita guna platform ni sebagai salah satu platform untuk kita untuk mengembangkan market pasaran kita daripada market Malaysia kepada luar negara. Kita yakin dengan collaboration ni, kita amat yakin sebenarnya dengan collaboration ni kita akan kembangkan pasaran kita di pasaran tempatan dan juga global, yang mana kita akan membawa nama Malaysia ke pasaran dunia.
Selaras dengan Pelan Hala 7 Peralihan Tenaga Negara NETR, Malaysia menyasarkan untuk menggandakan kapasiti tenaga boleh baharu RE menjelang 2050. Dengan permintaan tenaga bagi pelaburan pusat data yang akan datang, keselamatan, kecekapan dan jangka hayat peralatan tenaga akan menjadi isu yang lebih penting berbanding sebelum ini. Usahawan PKS tempatan yang disokong oleh kepimpinan berwawasan dan pakatan strategik akan bersedia untuk menyokong pertumbuhan dan bersaing di peringkat tertinggi. Baik, sekarang saya akan kongsikan berkenaan dengan prestasi ringgit di mana ia melantun semula berbanding dolar Amerika Syarikat untuk ditutup pada paras tertingginya dalam tempoh lebih 5 bulan susulan minat baharu berikutan perbincangan tarif yang menggalakkan antara Malaysia dan Kerajaan Amerika Syarikat. Pada 6 petang semalam, unit wang tempatan meningkat kepada 4.3615 atau 3665 berbanding dolar Amerika daripada paras penutup 4.3705 atau 3770 pada Jumaat minggu lepas. Dan untuk hari ini saya akan kongsikan setakat pagi ini prestasi ringgit berbanding dengan dolar Amerika pada jam 9.17 pagi, dan pada pembukaan pagi ini ringgit itu berada paras yang sangat kukuh kalau kita bandingkan dengan semalam, iaitu 4.3375 untuk 29 hari bulan. Kalau kita tengok 28 hari bulan, ringgit itu sudah mengukuh, tapi kalau kita bandingkan ia berada pada paras lebih kurang 4.3727, dan ini adalah lebih baik kalau kita bandingkan dalam lebih kurang beberapa hari ataupun beberapa tarikh sebelumnya, iaitu lebih kurang 23, yang paling lemah setakat ini dalam jangka masa 1 minggu iaitu 4.4143. Namun selepas rundingan dilakukan oleh MITI di Washington dan sebagainya, dan kelegaan ataupun perang tarif itu lega antara Malaysia dan juga Amerika Syarikat, ringgit kembali kukuh dengan mencapai paras 4.3375 untuk setakat hari ini 29 April 2025. Dan seterusnya berkenaan dengan perkembangan bursa, di mana bursa Malaysia ditutup pada paras tertinggi harian pada Isnin dengan peningkatan hari keempat berturut-turut yang mencerminkan sentimen positif berikutan penutupan kukuh Wall Street pada Jumaat lepas, meskipun pasaran serantau mencatat prestasi bercampur-campur. Dan pada 5 petang, indeks FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI, FBM KLCI meningkat 12.39 mata atau 0.82% kepada 1,521.59 daripada 1,509.20 semasa ditutup pada Jumaat lepas. Dan sekarang kita saksikan pembukaan semula Selasa untuk FBM KLCI atau FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI untuk setakat pagi ini pada jam 9.04 pagi. Ia berada pada paras 1,520.47 dan turun sedikit 0.07% dan 1.12 mata. Kalau kita tengok prestasinya dalam jangka masa seminggu, kita mula dari Rabu minggu lalu, kita dapat saksikan pergerakan naik turun FTSE Bursa Malaysia itu. Namun kita mulakan dengan pada Rabu, kita dapat saksikan ia berada pada paras 1,498 di bawah 1,500. Namun sedikit demi sedikit kita dapat saksikan peningkatan itu berlaku memasuki hari Khamis. Kemudiannya Jumaat mencapai paras 1,509 melepasi paras yang kita nantikan. Sehinggalah hari ini kita dapat saksikan kenaikan itu agak ketara melepasi paras 1,520. Namun untuk pagi ini ia turun sedikit menjadi 1,519.97 untuk setakat 9.5 pagi. Itu apa yang saya dapat kongsikan berkaitan dengan prestasi ringgit dan Bursa Malaysia untuk 29 April 2025. Banyak lagi perkongsian saya akan kongsikan selepas ini. Jadi kita berhenti rehat seketika, kembali selepas ini.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Cara kita mendapat berita kian berubah. Melalui media sosial maupun saluran digital yang lain serta kaca TV. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini.
Kita buat sesuatu yang berbeza.
Berteraskan acuan verifikasi yang diamalkan supaya setiap fakta adalah sahih. Daripada analisis pelbagai sudut yang mendalam, laporan-laporan khas dan perbincangan yang membina negara. Inklusif, suara rakyat kami ajukan. Keseimbangan persepsi kami pastikan. Kerana setiap cerita mempunyai impak yang tersendiri dan perlu dibawa dengan penelitian yang terperinci. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada. Saluran berita paling dipercayai di Malaysia.
Maafkan Myra, Kak.
Detik pertemuan yang menginsafkan.
Bagilah dia peluang ni.
Pedih sangat bila kita tahu cinta kita tu dipermainkan.
Myra betul-betul insaf.
Kalau ikutkan hati aku nak suruh je Budin tu cari perempuan lain.
Myra ikhlas cintakan abang. Myra tak berlakon, Pak.
Dan cinta saya untuk awak, Myra, dah kosong.
Dia imamku di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
Uniform Tentera Darat Malaysia TADM bagi peserta program latihan khidmat negara tidak seharusnya menjadi isu hangat.
Jenayah penipuan pelaburan mencatatkan jumlah kerugian tertinggi pada tahun ini setakat 2 Februari lalu.
Kementerian Pendidikan memandang serius isu peningkatan trend penggunaan rokok elektronik.
Lembaga Lebuh Raya Malaysia LLM memperluaskan larangan kenderaan berat memasuki lebuh raya pada waktu puncak di beberapa jajaran terpilih di sekitar Lembah Kelam.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrat Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Program Sentuhan Kasih Rakyat Sabah atau Syukur merekodkan lebih 68,000 penerima menerima bayaran bagi fasa pertama.
225 unit rumah kos rendah sedang dibina di 5 lokasi strategik seluruh Sabah.
Kerajaan Negeri Sabah disaran mengkaji semula kaedah pengiraan kadar kemiskinan yang digunakan pada ketika ini agar lebih mencerminkan realiti sebenar.
Kerajaan Sarawak mahu terus memperkukuhkan hubungan dengan pelajar Sarawak di seluruh Malaysia menerusi program Ngabas Anak Sarawak.
Welcome back to AWANI. Moving on, a ripple of confidence is sweeping through Malaysia's solar industry, even as the United States imposes import duties of up to 3,521% on panels from Southeast Asia, and local firms focusing on engineering, procurement, construction and project development rather than upstream manufacturing remain insulated from these tariffs. Backed by the National Energy Transition Roadmaps or NETR push towards 70% renewable energy by 2050, domestic demand is surging. Major clean energy investments are lining up and foreign investors continue eyeing Malaysia as a regional hub for green growth. Some say challenges still lie in scaling infrastructure, navigating trade dynamics and leveraging Malaysia's ASEAN role. And we are going to take a look at all of it now. And our guest is ready in the studio with me right now, which is Ko Chuan Zhen, the Group CEO and also co-founder of Plus X Energy. Thank you so much for joining me, Chuan Zhen, this morning. First of all, before we go deep into the discussion, help us understand how is the tariff announced by Donald Trump on 2nd April will in a way affect the solar industry in Malaysia?
Yeah. So for this President Trump, this announcement really bring a lot of different impact. So I would like to say, if for this solar industry globally, actually since 2 years back, they've already facing the challenge of the supply actually is over the demand. That's why since last year, before Trump, they increased the tariff. For most of the manufacturers, actually right now, I would say majority of them, they are from China. They have already reduced their production line and also have some of like layoff to lower down their production in order to make sure the solar panels on the demand side and on the supply side is about the same. Because in the past few years, actually the solar price dropped a lot. That's why I would say this year onward, actually beginning of this year, before the Trumps, they announced this tariff hike, actually the price has already slightly increased. So right now, after the President Trump has announced for the tariff rate, what we will see is the reductions of the productions from a solar panel globally. This gap is bigger, or if let's say all the solar panel couldn't import to the US market, the gap is bigger. So which gap is bigger right now, it will be mainly, we'll see how will this impact on the global solar industry in terms of the raw material price and also solar panel price. And for what we forecast and also for what we see is, since the production has already reduced, however, definitely US is quite a big market. Okay. But I believe for most of the manufacturers, they will be able to, mainly from China, they will be able to react and also to ensure maybe the solar panel price, it will be remain or maybe slightly increase, but it won't really like further drop further like what happened before, because this is some kind of the risk control that most of the manufacturers globally, they have already foresee. So if we back to Malaysia, what happened in Malaysia for the whole ecosystem? For upstream, definitely we all know Malaysia used to be the world's largest manufacturing country who produced a lot of solar panels. Yeah. But since last year, we see there's a lot of these, couple of them, the Chinese manufacturer who set up factory in Malaysia, they've already moved out from Malaysia. It's because they found there's not much difference if you made in Malaysia or made in China. Every one of them, actually, they will get impacted by the imports of the tax. Correct. And if, let's say, they import to the US market. So that will be mainly impact on the Chinese manufacturers, those manufacturers who are mainly on the Chinese, they're mainly from China. But if we look into Malaysia companies, most of us actually, we are in the value chain of the downstream, which is on the EPC side, project management, and also project as a project developer. Okay. Yeah. So on this value chain of players, actually in Malaysia, we are using the product from manufacturers. So I wouldn't see there's much impact over here. It's because if we look into the whole downstream market, it eventually is building on the energy, clean energy infrastructure like solar power plant, battery power plants, and so on. So if you look into Malaysia, this year, actually by mid of the year, ST, which is Energy Commission, Suruhanjaya Tenaga, they have already announced that they will have a tariff adjustment, which means the energy price actually it will go up for most of the energy consumer like 100%. Us. Yeah, so it definitely will increase. At the same time, for the country, we still, right now, there's a lot of FDI, foreign investors who are looking into Southeast Asia region, and Malaysia is one of them. So besides data center, there's a lot of other, these are different industries that are looking to invest in Malaysia. So with the energy increase, and for those foreign investors who are coming in, they are also looking for clean energy. Yeah. So I would say, because of all this, I would say the demand is still there, which is investors still there, energy demand still there, and then Malaysia, we have to increase the tariff rate. So all this situation, actually, it will also still have to, I would say the demand for clean energy is still there. Yeah, the demand for clean energy is still there. So that's why I wouldn't see Malaysia companies who are more focused in terms of EPC and also on the project investment developer side, it will have a lot of impact. So what we probably will face the impact will be on the uncertainty on the currency, on the US dollar currency, and also the solar panel price, it will be probably a little bit uncertain. Yeah, but what we foresee, it will be probably remain or maybe slight increase. Yeah, so that would be the situations.
Can you actually forecast about how many percent it will increase? Because we know the demand and the interest for installation of solars to their houses, to our houses, is increasing as well. So about how many percent can you forecast for us?
If let's say on the TNB tariff rate, I think it's something which based on what TNB have announced, we know there will be some certain adjustment there. So I think the best is let's wait for that.
Okay.
But I think definitely easily for 5% onwards, yeah, that will be the numbers where we will see it will be increased. So I think, however, something good is beside the tariff increase, actually there's an alternative solution which is on the clean energy side. So to further move on is Malaysia right now, since last year, there's a new policy will come out for most of our energy consumer, which is about the same timing when TNB announced they are going to increase tariff rate. And this new policy is a new upgraded policy for self-consumption. So which means for factory who 100% use for TNB right now, or maybe they can install solar on their roof right now, they will have chances to go for 100% renewable energy by installing solar system and battery storage on their roof and also on the ground. If let's say their factory around the area, there's a land which is nearby and also just next to their land or within their premise. So this will be able to help them previously there's a cap, the limit for you to install renewable energy, which is 85% of your maximum demand. So end of last year, which is on December, they just removed this cap. So which means without this cap, you can go for like almost 100% of renewable energy. So this will become clean energy, which is solar plus battery, has become an alternative energy source for most of the manufacturers out there who purely just stick with the utility tariff, this grid and also the source in the past. So I would say this will make the business more vibrant in terms of an alternative solution, because right now with solar and battery, you will be able to make your clean energy able to store and for use. And battery technology actually is something quite new. It's just like solar in about 13 years back. So the benefit of battery, besides make the whole building energy supply and also on the demand side is much more stabilized. Secondly, they can bring a lot of more energy saving for the building. Just imagine, for factory today, they will be able to use the battery storage to charge, because usually for factory, they will have an off-peak tariff and also the peak tariff, which is much higher. So they will be able to charge during the off-peak period, which is the tariff in the lower rate at the night, and then to discharge it for the peak period, which is in the daytime. So this will be the first advantage by battery storage technology. Secondly, is for most of factory, there's a maximum demand, which means our utility company, they will charge when you have a surcharge on your energy spike. So they will pick the highest one, and then they will charge you a fee there, which is called maximum demand charges. So when you have battery technology, you'll be able to shift this maximum demand by discharge your battery, which is stored by solar, or let's say during the night time, to offset some of those peak shaving for the maximum demand. So I would say, definitely we know the whole country Malaysia tariff rate is one of the cheapest in the region, or let's say in the world. So despite of there's some increase, but there's at least there's some of alternative energy solution, which commercially, financially, and technology-wise point of view is something workable and also feasible.
And you mentioned earlier that Malaysian companies right now is mainly focused on downstream sort of activities. So how can actually Malaysia leverage this strategy or strength to become a regional leader in clean energy solutions and beyond just surviving external trade tensions right now, like the US import duty? So how can we actually leverage this so-called strength?
So I would say since Malaysia right now in terms of in South Asia country, compared with a lot of country right now is under the limelight in terms of renewable energy expansion due to the political stability compared with the rest of other country, due to the clean energy policy is there, especially under the NATR, as what we have mentioned during the opening. So right now, besides Philippines, Malaysia is one of these, I would say, hottest market in Southeast Asia. So this also able to attract more foreign investors coming into Malaysia. And for local player, I would say you will have a lot of combination like EPC company combined with a project investor, the developer together to further develop for all these chances, because we do have this, besides self-consumption, there's new policy, we do have this corporate renewable energy supply scheme, which is CRES, which is able to, for us to able to generate renewable energy power and then to sell through the grid to a factory or let's say to any these industrial plants let's say in the different region. For example, the place at Johor, like data center, and then we build a solar farm at Kedah, so we will be able to sell energy to them. So this will make Malaysia that in terms of a local energy infrastructures development, the business activity, still able to drive a country economy. Yeah, because if let's say upstream, we will just purely, we are not the technology owner on the solar panel side, and then just purely to provide a space for the foreign investor to produce their product and to sell to US market. So Malaysia is probably just as a like landlord and also some job opportunity. But in terms of a real economic drive, downstream is a key for us. And downstream, the strength of Malaysia EPC and as a developer is something what we see able to scale to the different region as well, like Philippines and also like upcoming like Indonesia and some other country.
But are there possible other challenges when it comes to regulatory, financial, or perhaps technical that will stand in the way of this mass adoption of solar? And for example, and is Malaysia actually at risk of being used as a transshipment hub to bypass tariffs, and how could this impact the long term of this whole ecosystem of solar?
Yeah, so definitely Malaysia will lose some of the income in terms of solar panel manufacturers. They will no longer just look for Malaysia. Yeah, so there's a lot of different places which they will look for that. But at the same time, I will see there's a lot of different alternative industry investors who are looking to set up their factory in Malaysia. Definitely, they were able to fill the gap. So that's on the upstream part. If we do into downstream in terms of how can this Malaysia still able to grow the renewable energy industry without much impact from a US tariff rate, the tariff incidents. Definitely in terms of the policy side, I will say right now Malaysia is much better than before in terms of we have like new self-consumption, we have a NAM there, LSS 5 Plus and LSS 6 is all upcoming, and also for CREST, all this policy is actually there, and also there's a CREAM. CREAM is for residential houses that you will be able just to lease your house out. For some corporate nearby your house within this 5 kilometer, you're able to lease your house to install solar and to sell energy to them. So actually this will make the whole energy industry more vibrant and also liberate the whole energy industry. So I don't see much challenge in terms of policy, probably just need to take time to implement it, and also the authority in terms of approval, how to streamline the whole approval process, that will be the key. Technology-wise, Malaysia, in terms of country grid, we can absorb about 12 gigawatt of solar energy. So in the first half, which is 6 gigawatt solar energy, it's just purely solar energy itself. For the second half of a 6 gigawatt solar energy, we have to come with solar and battery. This is for the grid stabilization, for the country national grid security, because if you just purely rely on solar, it all depends on the weather, so your grid in terms of energy demand and the supply side, it will be not stable. So with battery storage there, right now this is the demand, and definitely there's a lot of detailed engineering and regulation stuff with something that we have to do. So for example, Plus Energy, we are doing the first battery energy storage solution at the solar farm site. That's the first one that connect to the utility grid. So definitely we have to go through like with energy commissions, with TMB, to make sure the whole grid in terms of design and also testing commissioning for the grid injections is something they're able to provide the stability injection and the connection to the grid level. So I will see more projects like what we are doing right now. It will keep on coming, and probably I will put a year, probably about 12 months to 18 months as a learning period for most people to adopt and get used to solar. This is battery storage. It's just like solar energy happened in about 13 years back. So once this stabilizes in terms of engineering requirement, definitely it will standardize in terms of product requirement, and also let's say like bomba safety requirement in terms of fire hazard. How can we minimize it? It will be stabilized. So I will able to see all these things like battery energy storage as a new technology. It will be able to scale and also getting more common, even though to the household area as well. Yeah. So on financial point of view, definitely right now for battery energy storage investment and also plus solar together, the payback period, it could be slightly longer, probably like about 5 years, or maybe some can be like about 7 years. Yeah, I mean, when you have a tax incentive, maybe you can be about like 5 years for payback periods. So definitely right now, I will see along the years when the this economic scale and also when the this battery energy storage price become cheaper, definitely you were able to reach like what solar able to achieve today, like about within 3 years, there will be a payback period. Yeah. So I'm quite positive in terms of looking into this because we have went through this cycle in 13 years back when we deploy solar as a new technology for the whole market. So right now, at least there are some excitement for the whole industry to embrace a new technology.
Now we're more prepared, I can say.
Yeah, I would say definitely we are more prepared because we have went through that before in terms of infrastructure, in terms of regulations, in terms of engineering know-how. We are all there.
I mean, this is a very interesting conversation to talk about, but unfortunately, we only have 1 minute left. And perhaps before we end this discussion, like I mentioned earlier, Malaysia has among the lowest tariff imposed, which is 24% among other countries in the same region. But what if in the future the tariff rate is prolonged and at the same time is increased, perhaps? So, what can you say about that on the future outlooks?
I would say definitely we wish the tariff impact for Malaysia is always the lowest one. Then is where we can have more competitive in terms of the country. We can attract more FDI, or even though for made in Malaysia that we are able to impose to the rest of the country. So I would say it's pretty important still for us to really select like which industry to focus. Yeah, which industry. The country that we're focused. But if let's say the whole global supply chain right now have totally changed because of all this tariff change. So in terms of, we have to choose like some other country or let's say domestic market. How can we increase the percentage of domestic market for Malaysia that able to self-consume for most of this production and also within the country instead of to rely on some certain country or for export. I think it's a long way to go for us to refigure out in terms of a whole ecosystem when the global supply chain has totally changed recently.
And we can focus on the midterm and also short-term solutions for now, and that's the sharing by Ko Chuan Zhen, the co-founder of Plus X Energy. Thank you so much for coming all the way to our studio this morning, and I hope this conversation, whole discussion also discussion or interview can be found on all of our social media platforms, and that includes astroawani.com. Thank you so much. Alright, with that, kita akan berteruskan dengan perkembangan seterusnya atau perbincangan seterusnya berkenaan dengan industri kesihatan negara, di mana yang kalau kita lihat pada waktu ini berada dalam keadaan krisis. Jadi kita akan bersama terus dengan Azrul Muhammad Khalid, pengasas dan juga Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Galen Center for Health and Social Policy. Assalamualaikum Azrul, selamat pagi.
Waalaikumsalam Nabilah.
Kalau berdasarkan apa yang kita lihat pada waktu ini, Malaysia hanya memperuntukkan 4.7% daripada KDNK kepada penjagaan kesihatan, jauh di bawah purata OECD. Dan kita ada baca satu artikel semalam berkenaan dengan cadangan dana RM10 sebulan daripada setiap pekerja Malaysia untuk mengatasi kekurangan pakar bedah, jururawat dan juga peralatan di hospital awam. Tapi realitinya, hospital dah makin sesak, pakar pun tak cukup dan orang tunggu pembedahan sampai berbulan-bulan. Jadi mungkin pada pendapat Azrul, apa langkah segera yang bukan sekadar janji jangka panjang yang kerajaan nak ambil supaya keadaan tak terus jadi lebih teruk pada masa akan datang? Silakan Azrul.
Sebenarnya Nabilah, langkah kerajaan yang sudah pun diambil sekarang adalah untuk memastikan beban atau permintaan untuk servis kesihatan dapat to be met, termasuklah langkah untuk outsource kepada sektor swasta, di mana hospital swasta digunakan untuk memastikan beban daripada sektor awam ini akan di-outsourcekan kepada pihak swasta, dan ianya melibatkan konsultasi, penggunaan mesin-mesin diagnosis dan juga rawatan yang diberikan pada pesakit yang pada asalnya adalah pesakit sektor awam. Tetapi hakikatnya apa yang kita dapat melihat iaitu masalah yang kita lihat termasuklah kesesakan di hospital dan keadaan di mana pakar pun tak mencukupi seperti mana yang Nabilah katakan. Ialah sistem kesihatan awam Malaysia tidak mempunyai sebenarnya pekerja kesihatan yang mencukupi, terutamanya jururawat, doktor dan pembantu perubatan, dan setiap tahun ianya mengalami pengurangan akibat peletakan jawatan yang tidak dapat ditangani. So ianya melibatkan vicious cycle, di mana disebabkan kekurangan jawatan atau kekosongan yang semakin besar di kalangan human resource itu sendiri, beban dan permintaan rawatan kesihatan yang sangat tinggi dan ianya mengganggu jadual operasi bagi hospital, klinik dan perkhidmatan kesihatan secara amnya. So ini memberikan tekanan dan jakan yang tidak realistik pada sistem kesihatan. So apa yang kita perlukan buat sekarang ni adalah short term dan long term. Short term kita perlu outsource dan seperti mana saya katakan tadi, kerajaan pun sudah cuba untuk dikan kepada pihak swasta untuk memastikan prasarana yang dapat digunakan tu ada yang di swasta dapat digunakan untuk pesakit daripada sektor awam, dan pada jangka masa panjang ialah untuk memastikan kita invest atau melabur dalam memperkembangkan jawatan-jawatan dan juga tenaga kerja sektor perubatan itu sendiri. Sekarang ni kita memang tidak mencukupi.
Kalau kita lihat keadaan industri ataupun sistem kesihatan negara sekarang dengan bajet negara yang cukup-cukup ataupun ketatlah kita boleh katakan, adakah kerajaan terbuka nak tengok idea seperti potongan RM10 sebulan ini untuk wujudkan dana pembedahan nasional itu wajar ataupun rasional, dan kalau ya mungkin macam mana nak kita jamin duit itu betul-betul sampai ke hospital, bukan hilang di tengah jalan dan tidak berlaku orang kata ketidaktelusan di situ?
Actually, cadangan seperti ini memang baik dan kami memang menyokong cadangan untuk memastikan kita dapat identify funding yang baru dan juga mampan, sustainable bagi kesihatan. Tapi sebenarnya RM10 itu memang tidak mencukupi. Apa yang kita perlu introduce kepada Malaysia ni adalah sebenarnya skim insurans kesihatan dan sosial kebangsaan, di mana ia juga dikenali sebagai National Health and Social Insurance, di mana seperti mana kita lihat KWSP dan SOCSO, setiap orang dapat contribute atau memberikan sumbangan kepada satu pool of money yang dapat digunakan untuk tujuan perubatan. Jumlah RM10 itu memang sangat sedikit kalau kita melihat dari segi allocation 5 tahun yang lalu di bawah Belanjawan Pakatan Harapan yang pertama, allocation atau peruntukan bagi kesihatan pada 2019 tu adalah 29 bilion. Sekarang ni 2025 adalah 45 bilion. So jumlah yang kita perlukan ini adalah sangat besar. Oleh itu kita tak boleh buat half measures, kita perlu go all the way. So saya mencadangkan agar kita memperkenalkan skim insurans kesihatan dan sosial kebangsaan, di mana ianya akan memberikan sumbangan kepada kesihatan bukan saja dari segi rawatan, kos perubatan dan sebagainya, tetapi juga untuk memastikan kita mempunyai dana untuk menangani cabaran aging population, di mana kita mempunyai populasi yang semakin tua, kerana kita masih lagi tidak mempunyai pendekatan yang sistematik untuk menangani isu-isu kos perubatan yang melibatkan populasi sebegini. So memang kita patut ada sumbangan atau potongan, tapi jangan kata RM10 sebulan. Kita melihat dari segi percentage, dari segi gaji, dan kita melihat apa sumbangan yang boleh, dan mengikut anggaran daripada Galen Center for Health and Social Policy, kami menganggarkan seperti mana kita melakukan seperti di EPF atau KWSP, kita mungkin boleh menjana bukan 2 bilion tapi mungkin 16 bilion bagi menyumbang atau komplement kepada peruntukan yang sedia ada. So kalau kita sudah pun memperkenalkan skim sedemikian, cuba bayangkan sekarang ni kita ada 45 bilion ditambah dengan 16 bilion yang digunakan untuk tujuan kesihatan saja. Tapi masalahnya sekarang ialah kerajaan tidak dapat memperkenalkan skim sedemikian kerana di bawah Perlembagaan Persekutuan ianya memastikan semua dana yang dikutip oleh kerajaan ianya masuk ke dalam apa ni dipanggil sebagai consolidated fund, di mana wang itu atau dana tersebut akan diagihkan semula selepas dia kumpulkan di bawah consolidated fund ni. So sebelum kita memperkenalkan dana-dana baru ini, kita perlu mengharungi cabaran atau melintas sebagai cabaran perundangan yang sedia ada bagi memastikan kita boleh melakukan sedemikian. Tapi memang kita perlu memperkenalkan undang-undang baru untuk memastikan dana seperti yang dicadangkan ini dapat dikenalkan dan juga dapat dijalankan. Tapi sekarang ni itu adalah lebih kepada cadangan masa panjang ya, dan tidak mungkin dapat dilakukan dalam masa yang terdekat.
Bila bercakap mengenai sistem kesihatan negara yang berada dalam ambang krisis ini, memang tak lari kalau kita cakap berkenaan dengan isu brain drain, ramai doktor, pakar bius dan juga jururawat lari ke sektor swasta ataupun kerja di luar negara. Jadi kalau sebelum ni ada pengumuman berkenaan dengan pengurangan kelayakan pendidikan untuk jururawat untuk menarik lebih ramai jururawat masuk ke sistem kesihatan negara, namun adakah ini akan beri kesan ataupun jeopardize orang kata produktiviti ataupun kualiti kerja mereka untuk pesakit-pesakit di Malaysia ini?
Kalau kita melihat pada belanjawan 2025 ini kan, kita tengok dari segi peruntukan yang diberikan pada emolument ada 2.36 bilion dan juga pelaburan yang lebih tinggi dalam skills building dan latihan. Jelas bahawa kerajaan pada masa ini sedang membuat satu pendekatan yang serius untuk memastikan kita dapat recruit, retain dan invest ya dalam skill healthcare workers kita di Malaysia, terutamanya jururawat, doktor, farmasis dan sebagainya, bagi memastikan mereka kekal dalam perkhidmatan awam. Tapi masalahnya ialah Malaysia mengalami satu keadaan di mana kita terpaksa bertanding atau compete ya untuk pool yang sama dengan negara-negara lain, iaitu skill healthcare workers. Dan Malaysian skill health workers ni memang very popular, very in demand, memang dapat dieksport tenaga kerja ni sebenarnya. Kita melihat doktor, nurses, farmasis kita diambil oleh negara-negara lain seperti negara Eropah, UK, Australia, New Zealand dan juga negara-negara di rantau Malaysia, terutamanya di Singapura. So masalahnya sekarang ini bagaimana kita nak pastikan mereka bukan saja tidak keluar daripada sektor awam ke sektor swasta, tapi juga keluar daripada Malaysia altogether. Ianya mempunyai memberikan satu cabaran yang sungguh besar ya bagi kerajaan, kerana kita terpaksa menawarkan gaji yang lebih besar, situasi pekerjaan yang mungkin atau working environment yang lebih insentif, mempunyai lebih insentif yang bagus dan sebagainya, dan terpaksa bertanding dengan sektor swasta. Masalahnya ialah kita tidak mempunyai wang yang cukup untuk fund langkah-langkah ini, dan plan realistik sebenarnya adalah kalau kita nak melihat kita perlu buat apa yang boleh, dan terutamanya untuk mewujudkan satu persekitaran pekerjaan yang mana frontliner kita, healthcare workers ini rasa dihargai dan mahu terus berkhidmat. Maksudnya menangani kes bully contohnya, sexual harassment, abuse dan sebagainya, kita perlu mengambil serius dan tidak mengetepikan saja mungkin komplain atau aduan yang diberikan, kerana ianya memberikan satu keadaan di mana mungkin mereka memikirkan tidak diambil serius dan terus keluar daripada sektor awam dan menyertai sektor swasta. So ini mempunyai satu cabaran yang sungguh besar ya, kerana sekiranya kita dapati semakin kurang doktor, pakar bius dan jururawat, ianya akan mengakibatkan gangguan pada kebolehan kerajaan sektor awam untuk memberikan servis kesihatan yang lebih baik.
Terima kasih diucapkan atas perkongsian itu tadi yang sangat orang kata mendalam berkenaan dengan sistem kesihatan negara kita yang penting untuk kita beri perhatian. Dan terima kasih diucapkan sekali lagi kepada Azrul Muhammad Khalid, pengasas dan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Galen Center for Health and Social Policy. Kita akan teruskan dengan perkembangan antarabangsa selepas ini. Baik, the S&P 500 closed the choppy session nearly unchanged on Monday, weighed down by a mega caps as investors awaited several catalysts, including key economic data and earnings from some of the largest US companies. Mega caps Nvidia and Amazon were the primary drags on the benchmark S&P 500 index and also served to keep the Nasdaq in check.
The Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday that China's Huawei Technologies was preparing to test its artificial intelligence processor, which it hopes can replace some of NVIDIA's higher-end products. Of the so-called Magnificent Seven heavyweight companies, Amazon is scheduled to report quarterly results later this week, along with Apple, Meta Platforms and Microsoft. Apple and Meta both rose to help counter the declines in NVIDIA and Amazon.
So we have seen, people going out and buying cars. They probably have been going out and buying iPhones as well. But I think actually we're going to have to place a little bit more importance on the earnings of some non-Magnificent Seven companies, like the auto companies, because that's really, I think, going to tell us where the economy is likely to be headed. Apple, will probably have decent earnings no matter what.
According to preliminary data, the S&P 500 gained 3.43 points, or 0.06%, to end at 5,528.37 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 17.35 points, or 0.10%, to 17,365.59. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 111.29 points, or 0.28%, to 40,224.79. Though first quarter earnings from S&P 500 companies are expected to climb 10.9% from a year ago, according to LSG data, many firms have warned of the uncertainty caused by US trade policy, with some cutting or completely pulling forecasts.
All right, now let's break down what's happening in the US stock market. And behind me is the Standard & Poor's 500 index stocks categorized by sectors and industries. And size represents market cap. It's a mix of red and green over here. And red means losses and green means gains. And I'm going to start with NVIDIA. NVIDIA right now shows the color of red, and which was down by 2.05%. And the stock price is still currently at 108.73, and this is under the semiconductors sector. And the latest update on NVIDIA, which is China's Huawei Technologies, is preparing to test its newest and most powerful artificial intelligence processor, hoping to replace some higher-end products of US chip giant NVIDIA, the Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday. And Huawei has approached some Chinese tech companies about testing the technical feasibility of the new chip called the Ascend 910D, the report said. The Chinese company hopes that the latest iteration of its Ascend AI processors will be more powerful than NVIDIA's H100 and is slated to receive the first batch of samples of the processor as early as late May. And Reuters reported on Monday that Huawei plans to begin mass shipments of its advanced 910C artificial intelligence chip to Chinese customers as early as next month. And moving on to next one is, I'm going to touch on Meta. Unfortunately, it was increased by 0.45%, and the stock price is at the level of 549.74 right now. But on the other hand, Google was down by 0.87%, and the stock price right now is 162.42 under the sector of communication services, internet content and information. But the latest update on Meta is Apple was fined 500 million euros, which is similar to $570 million on Wednesday, and Meta 200 million euros as European Union antitrust regulators handed out the first sanctions under landmark legislation aimed at curbing the power of big tech. The EU fines could stoke tensions with US President Donald Trump, who has threatened to levy tariffs against countries that penalize US companies. And Trump's White House called the fines a novel form of economic extortion the United States will not tolerate. And like I mentioned earlier, Google's update was down by 0.87%. But the latest update on Google is a US judge has set a May 2nd discuss policies with the US Justice Department, and a group of states might ask the court to impose on Google after it ruled the Alphabet unit illegally dominates two markets for online advertising technology. And US District Judge Leonie Brinkema in the Alexandria, Virginia Federal Court indicated the hearing aims to get an early and broad sense of the potential remedies before focusing on specific measures. And the hearing will come after Brinkema, in a blockbuster order, on April 17th found Google liable for willfully acquiring and maintaining monopoly power in markets for publisher ad service and the market for ad exchanges that sit between buyers and sellers. However, Google and the Justice Department did not immediately respond to requests for comment. And then last but not least, we have Tesla with the green of color here. It was up by 0.33%. And similarly to the same sector under the auto manufacturers is we have Ford. It was down a bit by 0.20%. And as for General Motors, GM, it was increased by 0.28% and 47.24%, and this is for the automotive sectors. But the latest update on Tesla is Tesla faces a proposed class action claiming it speeds up odometers on its electric vehicles so they fall out of warranty faster, saving Elon Musk's company from having to pay for repairs. The plaintiff, Nairi Hinton, alleged that Tesla odometer readings reflect energy consumption, driver behavior and predictive algorithms rather than actual mileage driven. He said the odometer on the 2020 Model Y he bought in December 2022 with 36,772 miles on the clock ran at least 15% fast based on his other vehicles and driving history, and for a while said he drove 72 miles a day when at most he drove 20. And Hinton, a Los Angeles resident, said this caused his 50,000-mile basic warranty to expire well ahead of schedule, leaving him with a $10,000 suspension repair bill that he thought Tesla should cover. And the complaint said by tying warranty limits and lease mileage caps to inflated odometer readings, Tesla increases repair revenue, reduces warranty obligations, and compels consumers to purchase extended warranties prematurely. And those are the updates that I can share to you today on US markets. We have more updates after this. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025. Kerja-kerja fizikal dan penstrukturan sudah mencecah 95%.
KPM sebenarnya sedang memperincikan cadangan untuk menyediakan allowance kos sara hidup tingkatan 6.
Libat urus antara umat Islam dan agama lain penting supaya dapat mengelakkan ataupun membawa kepada Islamofobia.
Abang sudi kahwin dengan Iman.
Tak kot, cukuplah Nur seorang menjadi isi abang.
Kecewa yang membawa kepada muslihat.
Adik Iman kenapa? Kau dah buat apa? Adik Iman kena kandungkan Iman.
Bohong, semua ni bohong. Tuduhan yang menyakitkan.
Dia satu dunia tuduh abang Nur sama aku ni Allah.
1000 tahun, Rabu dan Khamis di Astro Ria dan Astro Go.
Thanks very much for joining us. This is The Economy with me, Ibrahim Sani. Currently, I am at the offices of CGS Securities Malaysia. Very recently, CGS has launched their first product in Malaysia called fractional trading. And it's the first to be seen in Malaysia through their new age platform called UP. This is aimed at design or is targeted towards the young and tech-savvy market. And of course, trying to see if fractional trading would take a bite for those that might want to enter the foray of equities trading for the first time in their lives. Here to discuss this and more is the Deputy CEO of CGS International Securities Malaysia, Khairi Shahrin Arif Baki. Khairi, thanks very much for taking time to speak with us.
Thank you.
Was the launch fun, I suppose, or did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, we took the advantage at a conference where our Prime Minister was there, and then SC as well as Bursa, so all the chairmen are there, and so it was a very successful event, and as I say, we took the opportunity to launch the fractional shares during the event itself.
And of course, CGS is the first broker to offer fractional share trading in Malaysia. For those that might be in the uninitiated, how would you describe fractional trading to the average investor, and why do you think this is going to be interesting for them?
All right. This is very simple. Fractional means a portion of it, right? In the normal bursa trading, I take example. I like to use tenaga shares, for example, at 12, 13 ringgit, you want to take. So at 12, 13 ringgit, 100 shares will cost you about 1,200 or 1,300 at 100 shares, right? With Up app, you can still own tenaga shares, but only as low as 1 ringgit. Of course, 1 ringgit will get you a portion of it, probably about 0.07 of shares. But then, you can own the tenaga shares already. So that's the beauty of it. That, just like other investments where it has been fractionalized, the cryptos, for example, where you just own a portion of it. So same thing here. You can own tenaga of any of the shares. Of course, right now we are limited to the KLCI or the Bursa Top 30 at a fraction and as low as 1 ringgit. So that's the beauty of it. That anyone now can start invest. Even when you say, oh, I only have 1 ringgit, fine, you can start to invest even with 1 ringgit.
Why are you limiting it to just the top 30 best companies?
Okay, of course, first of all, this is for the beginners, right? Or for those who just started to invest. And we want to limit it to just top counters, good counters. Of course, as you know, the KLCI, these are the best top 30, whether from profitable, whether from market cap. And these are more stable companies, I would say. And some of them give pretty good dividends. And from our point of view, that would be the best start rather than for them, to start look at some other names, which is a bit more volatile.
All right, let's talk about this. So we're trying to protect investor interests. We're also trying to initiate them into equities for the first time in their lives. We're also looking at how we can make it more accessible and democratizing it for them. Seems like you have a lot of ingredients that is pushing towards greater financial literacy, greater involvement of the market by retail investors. Is this the right time to get retail investors in the game, as well as what will be some of your advice towards these kind of investors?
All right. I think we have heard this many times before. The best time to invest was 10 years ago, and the best time is today, right? If you missed it, whether 10 years ago or 5 years ago, so today is the best time. We understand that the market, unfortunately, when we launched it, it was at right in the middle of the storm. But I always see there's always opportunities into it. All right, and I don't think if you invest, I mentioned just now 1 ringgit, even if you invest with 10 ringgit, it's a cup of a coffee nowadays, right? I mean, you see university students, spending quite a lot, more than that, right, for a cup of coffee. So hence, I don't see any reason, if you buy something at 10 ringgit and you lose 10% of your investment or 20% of investment, you just drop from 10 ringgit to 8 ringgit. I mean, it's not gonna. But the beauty of it is like they will learn. They will learn that, oh, the market is volatile, that not necessarily if I put in 10 ringgit, every time it's going to become 15 ringgit, 50% or whatever, that it's volatile. So it teaches them, there's a risk. And then, you asked me about the KLCI. So also investment is not just about returns, it's about risk. So hence, we want to limit their risk where the KLCI or the 30 stocks, the risk will be a bit lower. And as I mentioned, there's no wrong or right time. And we felt that the conference itself is an ASEAN investment conference. It's a big event, and we thought that it's the right time to launch in April.
One thing I find interesting when I started off my career and I opened my first trading account, of all the places I opened it with CGS CIMB at that time.
Thank you very much.
Because we were family and then we weren't. So one thing interesting is that it allowed me to understand a little bit better in terms of the trading platform. And of course, the news that we see every day and how that particularly impacts the way I would invest, including, say, for instance, what we saw in recent weeks, the tariff war, China overtures, Malaysia and ASEAN movement that we're seeing this next few weeks and perhaps months. And all this, of course, impacts trade and how this will go up and down, I suppose. Do you feel that this is an opportunity for your potential investors to actually learn about current affairs, global affairs, national affairs, economic news, and how that impacts the way they would look at their shares going up and down, or look at how they can invest for the long term? Do you think that this is the best way forward for them to learn about these things?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So even if you open an account and, as I mentioned again, you don't have much money, it's fine. On the app, we have the discover sections, you know, the research, everything, which we simplify from our award-winning research team. And instead of looking at the research like from the institutional kind of reports, we simplify it. You know, and hence because this is, you know, it's meant for the retail, right? And then not just normal retail, but as well is for the retail first-time investors. It could be university students, it could be low-income, you know, groups, or even just actually anybody. You know, even someone with lots of money, but they say, I'm not familiar with investment. I think this would be a good platform. I just want to, you know, put 50 ringgit of my money, and they can, right? As I mentioned to what we, you know, the minimum amount if you want to spend in the normal 100 shares in Bursa. So you can start with any amount. And yeah, we have the research reports. The team has started doing webinars as well. We go down to the universities, you know. I'm going to go to one of the universities up in the north tomorrow, actually, to share some of this. Our team was in another university last week. So it's an ongoing thing that we're doing with a lot of the universities. It's about them understanding, like, look, you know, your first step, it doesn't have to be a big amount, you know, and your first step, you don't have to be afraid of it, because sometimes, you know, when there's too much, so what we did, in a way, we lowered the barrier, whether in terms of amount to invest and to approach the whole thing. Like, it is very user friendly. It's a simple app. You know, you're using smartphones. You download all kinds of apps. So this is one app that I think, for Malaysians especially, it's very important that they make that first step.
Okay, let's talk about the app itself. It's called Up. It's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. How is this different from your previous apps that CGS has launched before this?
Okay, first of all, fractional. Never been done in Malaysia before. I mean, there are other platforms that offer fractional, but it's for US or other markets, but never for Bursa. So we're the first one to do for Bursa. The second thing is that how different it is. It's simple and zero brokerage for the buy. All right, and what we have added a wonderful feature in it. We call it regular saving plans, but in other words, it's like a regular investment plan, right? You can set yourself whether on a weekly basis or monthly basis to put in 50 ringgit or 100 ringgit, and then, you know, you can choose where you want to invest, and it will automatically invest for you. And that is something new that we feel for anyone who just want to have some exposure into certain names. So, for example, we haven't added ETF yet, which we will, just for your information.
It's okay, slowly.
For diversification.
But ETF is in the works, lah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, ETFs, and even outside of the top 30 stocks, what we have in mind also to include high dividend stocks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that will help, right? I mean, in terms of...
So it sounds like you might be opening up to the top outside of the KLCI 30.
Yes, that's the plan. It's not there yet, but
it's
yeah, that's definitely that we were heading towards that. Yeah.
And then, of course, is it open to Malaysians only?
We open to Malaysians, yes.
And foreigners?
Okay, foreigners, we also have the Up app in Singapore, since, you know, we're a regional company, so they can also register through that. I think for here, we do keep it for Malaysians. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Save Up feature in the app.
Yes, yeah. So that's the one that I mentioned just now, the regular savings plan, where you can put whether on weekly basis, every fortnightly or monthly basis, any amount that you have in mind, and it will just auto deduct from your account. And
you mentioned that because CGS operates in various markets right now, and as I understand it, it's for now it's just Singapore and Malaysia.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a plan in store for you to roll out, or CGS International to roll out the Up app elsewhere around the markets that you operate in?
Yeah, there's plans for that. I mean, it all depends on the demands and the readiness of each market and the teams over there. So we launched this in Singapore. So when we launched in Singapore, it was for Singapore market and Malaysia market, Bursa. When we launched our Up Malaysia just for Bursa, and I think we're quite happy. Bursa has been a very vibrant market in that sense, especially if you see last year, right? And the number of stocks that has been performing has been very well. Of course, this year is a bit slow, but we believe, we just, for the time being, we're just going to focus on Bursa. I think it's more than enough. I mean, for a first-timer or a beginner, right? I mean, you're not going to invest in too many stocks. What you just need is some exposure and that learning process. And I believe after Bursa, as I mentioned, we are looking at the ETFs that we have in Malaysia. That I think Bursa has, I think it's about 18 or 20, low 20s number of ETFs, which should be enough in terms of diversification. And then we'll add a few more of the high dividend yield stocks. I think that's more than enough for now. Of course, if we have any other plans in the future, we will update more.
Investment literacy is a big deal for all of us to actually comprehend. Where do you see investment literacy comprehension in the Malaysian market, especially among Malaysian youth? And how does this compare against, say, other forms of financial literacy that you see around the markets that you operate in?
Okay.
How far are we from that gap? And if so, would having this kind of exposure towards products like fractional shares and some exposure through your app program, would that help kind of close that gap of investment literacy?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this for many years. We know there's all these financial literacy issues. We see day to day or on daily basis, right? All the scams that's happening all over, right? So we want to play our role. So this is part of our social responsibility.
Sorry, I'd like to posit that financial scam affects boomers more than the young.
Yeah.
Digital natives are not easily scammable.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, but on average, I suppose.
Yeah. More boomers, I would say, because of the,
because my mother would get scammed every Friday, and my 13-year-old son is not easily scammed at all. So there's that.
Yeah, true. Okay, let me rephrase that again. We're afraid that it might happen to them, right? So we take first steps. So we've been working with the universities, for example. We have trading labs in quite a number of universities across Malaysia. We have programs with them even before we launched this app. We have our ASEAN Investment Challenge, okay, where we invite the students of unis from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand and Singapore to compete first level at their country's level, and then they will compete as the champions of each country. So we have done that for quite a number of years, but under the AIC's brand name or ASEAN Investment Challenge. This is the third year, and I'm happy to say that for the past 2 years, the champions of ASEAN has been Malaysians.
Oh yeah?
Yes. Oh. Yeah. So this is from local universities here.
Yeah.
They competed at Malaysia level and they won. The person won.
Yeah.
And then they compete at the ASEAN level, regional level with all these countries. And the past 2 winners are Malaysians. So I'm very happy. So I think we are doing the right thing here in Malaysia, working with them. Those who are in the finalists, we also mentor them. So my team mentor them. I had sessions with them as well, so it's not just at a low level, at every level we work with them. Our research also play a role, our retail side as well. And they have, it's not just about, we give them, it's a virtual money, right? Like say 100,000 or something. It's not just about making the most profit. It's not just about that, because at the final level, right, they have to present their case. They have to really, come up with their own slides and their own materials. And then the judges are, from overseas. There are some from Hong Kong as well. We flew them in. So it's a very open, and then everyone was competing for it, and a very good prize money, I must say.
Yeah. For the students.
For the winners, yeah.
Let's talk about that, and how does that translate to your wider audience and your wider target segment in terms of your customers? I mean, webinars is an idea, and of course, other simplified research reports are also an idea.
Yep.
But what about your approach towards social media? Do you feel that TikTok is the way forward, or long form videos on YouTube? Is that the best forward to reach, or the best way to reach young investors and educate them in investment literacy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if I closely to myself, I have young children, between 9 to 16. They watch YouTube quite a lot. Not much on TikTok, I guess, somehow, whatever it is. But yes, TikTok, social media in general, is a place for us to be in, and for us to promote it, because we feel the numbers of hours spent by them, right, on daily basis, on a weekly basis, is quite high. So yeah, that's very much the place where we need to be in. I don't know about, we can come up with something on Roblox probably in future.
Yeah, gamification.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, let's circle back to fractional trading. Do you see fractional trading having any benefit to these kind of investors, considering that they trade in such small quantities? And while this is, trying to teach them temperament in terms of how to invest, it might also not grow their objectives in terms of investment targets.
Right.
So how do you marry that kind of idea where there's an investment target that they want to achieve versus that small amount of fractional trading?
Where we start in this fractional is just to them to be introduced to the investment world, especially on the equity side, right? As when they want to invest on the bigger side, say they start working, say we take a uni students for example, right? Say they start working, they earn some income and they say, look, fractional is not for me, I want to, explore further. We definitely already have all these platforms already. It's just that there's a transition, there's a journey for that, right? For those who have little amount of money or small amount of money and they just want to test it out, you come to UpApp. And when you're ready, our team is there. We have our data analytics team who, do our works behind the scene, understanding the clients and who to target and everything, the market segment. So we will do our part and we'll take them along this journey. We know who's doing what, and they're not active, but those who are active, and we can see after when they reach certain level, then we can have that data and approach them directly, right? As I mentioned, whether it's social media or through the information that we have, we can target them. So that's the beauty of us having the data analytics behind the scene.
The next few questions is going to involve markets. I want to pick your brain in terms of where the direction is going to be.
Okay.
Considering that since the announcement of the tariff and the announcement of the pausing of the tariff for 90 days, President Xi Jinping was in town, and not just in Malaysia. He came from Vietnam and he left for Cambodia. And there are some announcements that he might go as far as Africa. To visit some trade partners there. We saw how the markets tumbled. The Dow Jones dropped by I don't know how many percent. And the equities as well as fixed income. Both have dropped in tandem. So US Treasuries is not it's not a safe haven kind of thing anymore. Is it bottoming out or is this going further?
Okay, so I came to the industry some 20 plus years ago, right? I mean, after the financial crisis, then we had September 11, right? I mean,
that's your initiation into the
into the market, right?
Mine was 2008, but
And then we had 2008. So there was a gap about say September 11 to 2008, about 7 years, right? And then we had some really pretty good years, right? Up until 2020, right? Market bounce, it drops again in 2022. Quite a bad year, right? 2022, and then market recovers, especially last year. And then we got another hit. So you can see the duration, right, is just getting shorter and shorter. So we kind of live in a different world now as compared to before. So the frequency, it happened in 2020, 2022, now 2025. So I think for investors also, they have to take this into consideration that things are very different now. So you touched about the tariff. I just, we just had our research, report came out for the second quarter as well as the impacts on this tariff. So we did the numbers. I'm happy to say that for Malaysia companies, and as I mentioned, we just focus in Bursa, right?
Yes.
Our UpApp, very little impact. If I'm not mistaken, it's less than 5% for Malaysian companies in terms of our exposure to the global market. US, to the global market, on the tariff impact on this. So it's very minimal. We still have a lot of good companies that have good, and then take gloves for example. The Chinese one's going to have a bit more impact. And where the gloves going to come from?
Malaysia.
I mean, is this going to be more expensive for the US market for sure? But if it's an aging population, the healthcare needs the gloves. They need the gloves, no matter what's the price, right? The insurance cost may be going to be higher there. But
for an export market.
I mean, for them importing the gloves will be more expensive, but they still need the gloves. This is a necessity. This is not luxury items where they can opt not to buy. So they have no options. It's just that buying Malaysia gloves is going to be a better option.
And this is just one of the many kind of commodities and other trades that are currently happening.
So for Malaysia, we're fine. I mean, you can see, the President Xi Jinping.
What about the semiconductor business?
Of course, it's going to impact. Of course, tech is still going to have a bigger impact, but it's still the same. I mean, we've been in this environment for a long time, and looking at, if US charge this, there's definitely going to be an impact to the tech side, right? But then, you look at what Malaysia is compared to other markets, ours is still bearable, and they still have to import something. So if the demand is low, then definitely there's going to be impact on the tech side in Malaysia for sure. But they still have to get it from somewhere, and getting it from Malaysia would be probably the cheaper cost than other markets. Yeah.
And then, because of this, what's your advice to investors when they read the news and they see all red on their screen?
Okay.
What's your comment?
Yeah, this is something that I always tell people. You know, when you see all these sale or discount on Shopee or Amazon, you'll be happy, right? But when you see the rates in the market and it's minus 10% of Apple price, I mean talking about say the global markets, or even for Malaysia stocks, investors just run away, right? To me, because I've been trained more of a mid to long term investment. Buy the dip. Of course, you have also the same thing. Don't catch the falling knife. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you just have to monitor it, and there will come a level where it has gone low enough that, look, if you buy today and then you're gonna dollar cost averaging for the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think it's a problem.
Speaking about which,
for long-term investors.
Yeah. So I was asking my daughter. She's 18. I'm asking her, do you even know have you heard the term dollar cost average? And she said, yeah, she has. And I was asking her to describe it to me, and I'm like, so where did you get this information from? You know? And we were driving. It was a Hari Raya, so it's like 8 hours of drive, right? Balik kampung. And she said that she got these kind of tips from TikTok, and there are some influencers doing this. So they're not necessarily all financially illiterate. It's just that, but then she goes off a bit of a tangent. She's thinking, of short-term investing rather than having a long-term view. So, I mean, hit and miss lah. But generally speaking, do you feel that kind of perception towards investing still needs to be recalibrated, even for those that might be a little bit familiar with this kind of scene?
I'm pretty sure that, different people have different views on how they feel like, some of us made some really good money during the whole pandemic time because how the stock reacted.
I did, yeah.
Some of us did. So I guess it's about telling them, look, there are short-term gains that you can make for sure. Swing tradings and all those things, right? But at the same time, we have to remind everyone that look at the best investors in the world. It's still a long-term game, that you need to make sure that the money is there, that you need to start young, you need to start early, even at a small amount. So I think there's need to be a balance on that. Where some of it, when it's the price shot up, say 30-40%, you want to take profit on it for sure. You don't want to, it's not going to go forever and ever, right? You take a profit and then take a view. So whatever it is, I think the most important thing is that what we want to teach is that there's always risk into it, and then there's always, app like ours, with all the information there for you to continuous learning. That there's short-term gains, there's long-term gains to make, and it's a process, right? That you just have to learn. Sometimes you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes as well, so that's fine. But with app, I just want to say, you can make mistakes, but the amount of mistakes or the magnitude, it can be small, and you can learn easier rather than invest in a big amount and you lose in a big way.
So that's the approach then. Just to wrap up this conversation, app allows you to win small but also lose small. And it aims towards guiding you to be a better investor, especially in equities. And do you feel that the graduation period comes after you figured out how you can approach the equities market? Do you feel that there's a time limit that you impose on internally for your own customers? Maybe 6 months, we can move them up to the bigger trading app?
More than that, I think it's more than that. We want to work with them. Say, for example, our target is not only university students, right? It could be some people who do not go to university straight into working life, but
or even professionals but not in finance, right?
Correct,
lawyers, doctors.
They're afraid, right?
They don't know.
I'm not familiar with this, but with app, it allows them, right, to, okay, I start with 50 ringgit. There's nothing wrong with that. I start with 100 ringgit. How much? Even if they lose at 100 ringgit, if they lose 20%, right, it's just 20 ringgit, which I think it's bearable, right, as compared to. So I mean, it goes for anyone, as long as they're beginners, whether they're young or not so young, whether they have money or do not have money, but it allows them to do that. And then you said, slowly or gradually, goes to. So we're really thinking like probably even if it takes them 1 to 2 years, we can wait. We have time. We're in for the long game. That's why I say this app is more of our also play our social responsibility towards a wider group. and at the same time, we already have other platforms ready for them when they are ready to step up their game. So it is there. It's just that we need, and that's why we come up with the Up app, is for them to start, in a small amount.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any last minute advice or final advice?
Oh, for sure. I mean, to promote, please look at the Up app and download it. It's user friendly, and again, you can start with as low as RM1 to invest with zero brokerage.
There you go. That was Khairi Shahrin, the Deputy CEO of CGS Malaysia. You can download the Up app on the App Store as well as Google Play. Just search for Up CGS or Up Live Up Invest Up. Basically up lah.
MY.
MY. Oh yes, MY. Yeah, don't please miss it. Also, if you've missed any part of this show, just head on to Astro AWANI, look for The Economy with my name on it, or you can search for CGS there as well. We air weekly, only on Astro AWANI. Catch you in the next one.